Welcome to Crimes Beyond Borders, where we'll bring you the most thrilling true crime stories every single day. If you're fascinated by mystery, intrigue, and the darker side of human nature, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us as we unravel the most shocking and perplexing criminal cases from around the world. The story is about to begin after this intro.
From city streets to far-off lands, mystery slipping through our hands. Crimes beyond borders they speak, voices strong but words are meek. Every story leaves a mark, whispers softly in the dark.
Our stories at first are made for ourselves, to comfort us, to help us sleep, and to learn. Along the way, they become a part of our journey, teaching us English and fueling our passion for true crime. So, listen carefully, and if you're about to sleep, close your eyes. Let's begin. The assassination of Benazir Bhutto. Politics, extremism, and the murder of Pakistan's former prime minister. On December 27, 2007, Pakistan's political landscape was shattered by the assassination of Benazir Bhutto, the first woman to lead a Muslim-majority nation. Bhutto, a two-time prime minister and an iconic political figure, was killed in a suicide bombing and gun attack while campaigning for a third term in office. Her death plunged Pakistan into turmoil, raising questions about the involvement of Islamist extremists, elements within the Pakistani military, and political rivals. The assassination of Bhutto marked a pivotal moment in Pakistan's fragile democracy, shaking the foundation of the country's political institutions and exacerbating the already fraught relationship between the military, civilian government, and radical Islamist groups. Despite multiple investigations, conspiracy theories surrounding her assassination persist, making it one of the most controversial and significant political murders in recent history. Benazir Bhutto, a political dynasty and a leader in exile. Benazir Bhutto was born on June 21, 1953, into one of Pakistan's most powerful political families. Her father, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, founded the Pakistan People's Party, PPP, and served as both President and Prime Minister of Pakistan during the 1970s. The Bhutto family was revered by millions of Pakistanis for its progressive policies, but it was also despised by powerful segments of the military establishment and religious conservatives who saw their secular vision as a threat to Pakistan's Islamic identity. In 1977, Benazir's father was overthrown in a military coup led by General Zia-ul-Haq, and in 1979, Zulfikar was executed on charges of conspiring to murder a political opponent, a decision widely believed to have been politically motivated. Following her father's death, Benazir became the de facto leader of the PPP and spent years under house arrest and in exile as Pakistan was ruled by a series of military dictatorships. Benazir Bhutto's political career was defined by her fight for democracy in a country dominated by military rule. In 1988, after the death of General Zia in a mysterious plane crash, Bhutto returned to Pakistan and was elected as Prime Minister, becoming the first woman to lead a Muslim-majority nation. Her tenure was marked by efforts to modernize Pakistan, improve education and healthcare, and promote women's rights, but it was also plagued by accusations of corruption and inefficiency. Bhutto served two non-consecutive terms as Prime Minister, 1988 to 1990 and 1993 to 1996. Both ended prematurely due to her dismissal by the country's president amid allegations of corruption, much of which was believed to be politically motivated by her opponents in the military and conservative political factions. After her second ouster, Bhutto went into self-imposed exile in Dubai and London, where she spent nearly a decade. However, her political ambitions never faded, and in 2007, she made the decision to return to Pakistan, despite the risks, to contest the upcoming general elections. The return to Pakistan, a hero's welcome and immediate threats. On October 18, 2007, after years in exile, Benazir Bhutto returned to Pakistan with hopes of leading her party, the Pakistan People's Party, PPP, to victory in the Strath 2008 general elections. Her return was greeted with massive crowds of supporters, many of whom saw her as a symbol of hope and democracy in a country racked by military rule and Islamic extremism. Hundreds of thousands of people lined the streets of Karachi to welcome her home, and Bhutto made an impassioned speech promising to restore democracy and fight extremism. However, Bhutto's return was immediately marred by violence. On the very night of her homecoming, her convoy was attacked in a suicide bombing that killed 136 people and injured over 450, making it one of the deadliest attacks in Pakistan's history. Bhutto survived the bombing, but the incident underscored the immense danger she faced from both Islamist militants and political enemies who sought to prevent her from regaining power. Despite the assassination attempt, Bhutto refused to be intimidated. She continued her campaign, vowing to stand up to the threats posed by Al-Qaeda, the Pakistani Taliban, and other extremist groups that had gained influence in the country during her years in exile. Bhutto's stance against terrorism and extremism made her a target not only for radical Islamist groups, but also for certain factions within the Pakistani military, who were accused of covertly supporting these groups as part of their regional security strategy. The day of the assassination, December 27, 2007. On December 27, 2007, Benazir Bhutto was in Rawalpindi, a city with deep ties to Pakistan's military, campaigning ahead of the parliamentary elections scheduled for early 2008. Bhutto was addressing a large rally of her supporters at Liaquat Bagh, a public park that had been the site of numerous political events throughout Pakistan's history. It was also the same location where Pakistan's first Prime Minister, Liaquat Ali Khan, was assassinated in 1951. After delivering a rousing speech to a jubilant crowd, Bhutto left the rally in a bulletproof vehicle. However, as her car made its way through the streets, surrounded by supporters, Bhutto stood up through the car's sunroof to wave to the crowds. It was at this moment that an attacker, armed with a gun and a suicide vest, struck. The gunman fired several shots at Bhutto before detonating an explosive device, killing himself and at least 20 others. Bhutto was critically wounded in the attack. She was rushed to Rawalpindi General Hospital, but within an hour, she was pronounced dead. The official cause of death was initially reported as trauma to the head, possibly caused by the impact of the blast or a bullet. However, conflicting accounts about the exact circumstances of her death would soon fuel speculation and conspiracy theories. Immediate aftermath: shock, mourning, and violence. The news of Benazir Bhutto's assassination sent shockwaves across Pakistan and the world. For millions of Pakistanis, Bhutto was more than just a political leader. She was a symbol of the country's struggle for democracy and a beloved figure who had risked her life to bring about change. Her death plunged the nation into deep mourning and ignited widespread violence as angry supporters took to the streets to protest. Riots broke out in major cities across Pakistan, particularly in Sindh, Bhutto's home province and a stronghold of the PPP. In Karachi, Hyderabad, and other cities, PPP supporters clashed with police, burned vehicles, and attacked government buildings, blaming the state for failing to protect Bhutto. The violence continued for several days, leaving at least 58 people dead and hundreds injured. International leaders condemned the assassination, with U.S. President George W. Bush, UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown, and UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, among those calling for a thorough investigation into the killing. Bhutto's assassination was seen as a major blow to efforts to stabilize Pakistan and combat rising extremism in the region. The investigation, a tangle of conspiracy theories. The assassination of Benazir Bhutto was immediately followed by a controversial investigation that raised more questions than answers. Within hours of the attack, Pakistani authorities announced that the gunman was linked to Al-Qaeda and the Pakistani Taliban, specifically a militant commander named Baitullah Masood. Masood, who was the leader of the Pakistani Taliban at the time, was alleged to have orchestrated the assassination in retaliation for Bhutto's opposition to Islamist extremism. However, Bhutto's return to Pakistan also posed a threat to Musharraf's rule. Bhutto had a strong political base and widespread popular support, and her victory in the elections could have forced Musharraf to relinquish his grip on power. Some of Bhutto's supporters accused Musharraf of deliberately failing to protect her, and there were even suggestions that he had been involved in plotting her assassination to eliminate her as a political rival. In 2013, Pakistan's government formally charged Musharraf with involvement in Bhutto's assassination, accusing him of conspiracy to murder. The charges were based on allegations that Musharraf had failed to provide sufficient security for Bhutto despite the threats against her life. Musharraf denied the charges, claiming that he had been unaware of the specifics of the security arrangements and that Islamist militants were responsible for the assassination. Musharraf's trial dragged on for years, with little progress made in securing a conviction. In 2016, a Pakistani court declared Musharraf a fugitive after he fled the country for medical treatment. He remains in self-imposed exile, and his role in Bhutto's assassination remains a matter of controversy and debate. Legacy and impact: the death of democracy? The assassination of Benazir Bhutto had far-reaching consequences for Pakistan's political future and its ongoing struggle against extremism. Her death not only deprived the Pakistan People's Party of its most prominent leader, but also dealt a significant blow to the broader democratic movement in the country. In the months following Bhutto's assassination, Pakistan's general elections were held in February 2008. The PPP, now led by Bhutto's widower, Asif Ali Zardari, won a landslide victory, and Zardari himself would later become president of Pakistan. However, Zardari's tenure was marked by allegations of corruption, and he failed to deliver on many of the promises that Bhutto had made during her campaign. Benazir Bhutto's assassination also underscored the deep-seated challenges faced by Pakistan in combating terrorism and extremism. Despite efforts to crack down on militant groups, the Pakistani Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and other extremist organizations continued to grow in influence, particularly in the country's northwest and in tribal areas along the Afghan border. In the years since Bhutto's death, Pakistan has remained a volatile country, with repeated cycles of violence, political instability, and military intervention. The assassination of one of its most iconic leaders was a stark reminder of the dangers posed by extremism and the unresolved tensions between the country's civilian government and its military establishment. Conclusion: a political assassination shrouded in mystery. The assassination of Benazir Bhutto remains one of the most significant political murders of the 21st century, a tragedy that continues to haunt Pakistan. Bhutto was a complex figure, both revered and criticized, but her death symbolized the fragility of democracy in a country where the forces of extremism, militarism, and corruption hold immense power. Despite multiple investigations, no one has been definitively held accountable for her assassination. The question of whether Bhutto was killed solely by Islamist militants or whether elements within the Pakistani government played a role in her death remains unanswered. The failure to fully resolve the case has only deepened the sense of impunity that pervades Pakistan's political system, where powerful figures often escape justice while the victims and their families are left in the dark. Benazir Bhutto's assassination is not just a story of a political murder. It is a reflection of the broader struggles faced by Pakistan as it grapples with the forces of extremism, the legacy of military rule, and the pursuit of democratic governance. Her death, though a devastating loss, serves as a reminder of the dangers faced by those who challenge the status quo in the pursuit of a better future for their country. The story has come to an end, but stay relaxed. If you feel yourself drifting off to sleep, just let the video play and enjoy the soothing music in the background. Let it guide you gently into rest. We'll be here, bringing you more stories every night. Sleep well, and see you tomorrow at 8 p.m.